4 years ago, my life changed forever when my wife, Anna, died in a car accident. We were both 26 at the time, just starting our lives together. It happened right before the pandemic hit, adding another layer of surreal grief to an already unimaginable situation. Anna and I had been together for 6 years, married for 3. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect couple. Young, successful, attractive. But the truth was, our relationship had been struggling for a while. Anna was extremely jealous, constantly accusing me of flirting or cheating. She'd demand to see my phone, scrutinizing every text and email. At the same time, she was incredibly protective of her own phone. I should have seen the red flags, but I was too in love, too naive. The day Anna died, I was in shock. It didn't feel real. One minute she was here, the next gone forever. I remember standing in our apartment, surrounded by her things, her scent still lingering in the air. That's when the first message came through on her phone. It was from a guy we knew in college, someone I considered a casual friend. He was asking for pictures of their last encounter. My stomach dropped as I read the words, piecing together what they meant. I hate to admit it, but in that moment, my grief was momentarily overtaken by a desperate need to know the truth. I knew Anna's phone password. She'd never changed it because of our agreement to have open access to each other's devices. With shaking hands, I unlocked her phone and started digging. At first, I didn't find much. Anna had clearly been careful, deleting messages and hiding evidence. But she couldn't erase what came after her death. More messages flooded in from this guy, and the pieces started falling into place. They'd been having an affair, and from the sounds of it, it wasn't a one-time thing. Driven by a morbid curiosity, I turned to Anna's laptop next. Buried deep in her work folders, I found a password-protected file. It took me hours to crack it, but when I did, my world shattered all over again. There were pictures, dozens of them, of Anna with the guy from college. Some were innocent enough, others left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. But what hit me hardest was a photo of them together where Anna had short hair. She'd only worn her hair short once in the time I'd known her, right after we got engaged. The realization that she'd been cheating on me for at least half of our relationship was like a physical blow. I felt sick, betrayed, and utterly lost. But it got worse. In that same folder were pictures of Anna with 2 other men I didn't recognize. I had no way of knowing if these were also affairs or if they predated our relationship, but by that point, my trust was completely shattered. As if the emotional trauma wasn't enough, a few weeks later I was diagnosed with an STD. I knew immediately where it had come from. The final, cruel parting gift from a woman I thought I knew. I was angry. So angry. At Anna, at myself for being so blind, at the unfairness of it all. Part of me wanted to scream the truth from the rooftops, to tarnish the saintly image everyone had of her. But I didn't. Instead, I reached out to the college guy. I told him I knew about the affair and about the STD. I made it clear that I had no intention of revealing this to anyone else, but I needed him to keep the secret too. He agreed, mentioning that his ex knew about the affair but he'd make sure she stayed quiet. It was a hard decision, but I chose to keep Anna's infidelity a secret from her family. Her parents were devastated by her death, and I couldn't bring myself to destroy their memories of their daughter. So I played the part of the grieving widower, nodding along as people talked about what a wonderful person Anna had been. Anna's older brother, Thomas, became my rock during this time. We'd always gotten along well, but in the aftermath of Anna's death, we grew incredibly close. He was there for me in ways I never expected, and over time, he became my best friend. I never told him the truth about his sister. How could I? 2 years after Anna's death, I finally felt ready to think about dating again. When I mentioned this to Thomas, he immediately said he knew the perfect woman for me. He just wanted to make sure I was ready for something serious before making the introduction. I assured him I was curious about who this mystery woman might be. It turned out to be Laura, Thomas's sister-in-law. I knew her vaguely from family gatherings, but we'd never really talked. She was 27, smart, funny, and beautiful in an understated way. From our first real conversation, I felt a connection I hadn't experienced in years. Laura and I started dating, and it was like a breath of fresh air after years of suffocation. She was open, honest, and trusting. There was none of the jealousy or possessiveness that had characterized my relationship with Anna. For the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely happy. As our relationship grew more serious, I found myself facing a dilemma I never anticipated. Laura knew about Anna, of course. It was impossible to hide the fact that I was a widower. But she didn't know the whole truth. No one did, except for me and Anna's affair partner. I'd kept the secret for so long, convinced it was the right thing to do. But now, as I fell deeper in love with Laura, the weight of that secret felt heavier than ever. I started to wonder if I was doing the right thing by continuing to protect Anna's reputation. Was it fair to Laura to build our relationship on a foundation that included this massive lie? And what about Thomas and the rest of Anna's family? They'd been nothing but kind and supportive to me. Did they deserve to know the truth about who Anna really was? The question plagued me day and night. Would I be the asshole if I told Anna's family that she had cheated on me? On one hand, revealing the truth could cause immense pain to people who were already grieving. It could destroy their memories of Anna and potentially damage my relationships with them. Thomas might never forgive me for tarnishing his sister's memory. But on the other hand, living with this secret was eating me alive. It felt dishonest to accept their continued sympathy and support when I knew the reality of my marriage to Anna. And what about Laura? If our relationship continued to grow, could I really marry her without ever telling her the truth about my past? I found myself going back and forth, unable to decide what the right course of action was. Some days, I was convinced that revealing the truth was the only ethical choice. Other days, I thought keeping the secret was the kindest thing I could do for everyone involved. As the months passed and my relationship with Laura deepened, the pressure to make a decision grew. I knew that the longer I waited, the harder it would be to come clean if I chose to do so. But I also knew that once the truth was out, there would be no taking it back. I started to have nightmares about Anna's infidelity being revealed. In my dreams, I'd see the look of betrayal on Thomas's face, the disappointment in Laura's eyes, the devastation of Anna's parents. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, more conflicted than ever. I tried to imagine how I would feel if the situations were reversed. If Anna had lived and I had died, would I want her to tell my family if I had cheated? The thought made me uncomfortable. I'd like to think I'd want the truth to be known, but I couldn't be sure. As my internal debate raged on, life continued to move forward. Laura and I grew closer, and I found myself thinking about a future with her. But the shadow of my past with Anna loomed large, threatening to overshadow everything. I knew I needed to make a decision soon. The stress of keeping this secret was taking its toll on me, affecting my relationships and my mental health. But every time I thought I'd made up my mind, doubt would creep in and I'd be back at square one. Part of me wished I'd never discovered Anna's infidelity. Ignorance truly would have been bliss in this case. But I couldn't change the past. All I could do was try to figure out the right way forward. As I sit here now, still torn about what to do, I can't help but reflect on the complexity of human relationships. We never truly know everything about the people we love, not even our spouses. Anna's betrayal taught me that painful lesson. But my relationships with Thomas, Laura, and the rest of Anna's family have shown me the power of connection and support, even in the darkest times. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll find the courage to tell the truth, consequences be damned. Maybe I'll decide that keeping the secret is the kindest choice for everyone involved. Or maybe I'll find some middle ground, a way to be honest without causing unnecessary pain. Whatever I decide, I know it won't be easy. There's no clear right or wrong answer here, just a series of difficult choices. But I also know that I can't continue living in limbo, trapped between the past and the future I want to build. As I look at a photo of Laura on my phone, I feel a renewed sense of determination. She deserves honesty and openness, as do Thomas and the rest of Anna's family. They've been there for me through the darkest period of my life. Don't I owe them the truth in return? The sun is setting outside my window, casting long shadows across the room. Tomorrow, I tell myself, I'll make a decision. Tomorrow, I'll figure out how to move forward, one way or another. For now, I close my eyes and try to find some peace in the quiet of the evening, knowing that whatever comes next, I'll face it head on. After all, that's what Anna's death and everything that followed has taught me. Life is too short for lies and secrets. It's time to embrace the truth, whatever it may be.
I never thought I'd be writing about my own wedding day with such a mix of emotions. It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but instead, it turned into a day that split my family in half. I'm still trying to process everything that happened, and I can't help but wonder if I'm the one at fault here. Let me start from the beginning. I'm 30 years old, and I just got married last weekend. My younger sister, Lucy, who's 27, has always been the golden child of our family. She's smart, beautiful, and has a way of captivating everyone's attention. Growing up, I often felt like I was living in her shadow. Every birthday, graduation, or significant life event seemed to revolve around Lucy. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister, but I've always harbored a secret desire to have my moment in the spotlight. When Lucy told me she was pregnant a couple of months ago, I was genuinely happy for her. At the same time, I felt a sense of relief. Finally, my wedding day could be about me and my partner. No one overshadowing us. No unexpected news. Just us and our celebration of love. However, a week before the wedding, Lucy called me. What I thought would be a casual sisterly chat turned into a bombshell that left me stunned. She suggested announcing her pregnancy during my wedding reception. Her exact words were, "Wouldn't it be amazing if I announced my pregnancy during your reception? It would be such a surprise." She went on to explain that since all our family would be there, it would be such a special moment for everyone. I was caught off guard and struggled to find the right words. Eventually, I managed to tell her politely but firmly that I didn't think it was a good idea. I had spent months planning this day, pouring my heart and soul into every detail. I wanted it to be about my husband and me, not a pregnancy announcement. Lucy's response left me feeling hurt and confused. She accused me of overreacting and being selfish. In her mind, it wasn't a big deal, and she insisted that everyone would be so happy. I stood my ground and reiterated my stance. There would be no pregnancy announcement at my wedding. I thought that was the end of it, but I couldn't have been more wrong. The day of the wedding arrived, and everything was going beautifully. The ceremony was perfect, and as we moved into the reception, I felt like I was floating on cloud nine. I was having the time of my life, surrounded by friends and family, celebrating our love. That's when I noticed something off about Lucy. She had this smug look on her face that made my stomach churn with unease. Before I could process what was happening, Lucy tapped her glass for attention. My heart sank as I watched her stand up, a mischievous glint in her eye. In that moment, I knew exactly what was about to happen, and I felt powerless to stop it. In front of all our guests, Lucy announced her pregnancy. The room erupted in cheers and congratulations, but for me, time seemed to stand still. I was frozen in shock, feeling as if I was watching a nightmare unfold before my eyes. People immediately swarmed Lucy, showering her with hugs and questions. Just like that, my wedding was no longer about me and my husband, it was about Lucy and her baby. As I stood there, watching the scene unfold, a whirlwind of emotions swept through me. Anger, hurt, disappointment, and a profound sense of betrayal. This was supposed to be my day, the one time in my life where I could be the center of attention without feeling guilty about it. And in a matter of seconds, Lucy had stolen that from me. I couldn't bring myself to confront Lucy at that moment. I didn't want to cause a scene or further disrupt my wedding. Instead, I put on a brave face and tried to continue with the festivities as best I could. But inside, I was seething. The rest of the reception passed in a blur. I went through the motions, cutting the cake, dancing with my husband, thanking guests for coming, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. My mind kept replaying Lucy's announcement, and I couldn't shake the feeling of being overshadowed once again. As the night wound down and guests began to leave, I overheard snippets of conversations. Some people were gushing about how wonderful it was to have such joyous news shared on my wedding day. Others seemed uncomfortable, sensing the tension that had settled over the event. My parents were beaming with pride, already discussing plans for their future grandchild. When the last guest had left, and it was just family remaining, I finally allowed myself to confront Lucy. I pulled her aside, away from the prying eyes and ears of our relatives. I asked her why she had done it, why she couldn't respect my wishes on my wedding day. Her response left me even more hurt and confused. Lucy claimed that she didn't see what the big deal was. She said that family is about sharing joyous moments, and that I should be happy for her. She accused me of being selfish for not wanting to share my special day with her news. Her words cut deep, and I found myself at a loss for how to respond. Our argument quickly escalated, with years of pent-up feelings and resentments bubbling to the surface. We said things to each other that we can never take back. Our parents tried to intervene, but it was too late. The damage had been done. In the days following the wedding, our family has been in turmoil. Some relatives have sided with Lucy, claiming that I'm overreacting and that family should always come first. Others have supported me, understanding how hurt I am by Lucy's actions. The divide has become so deep that it's affecting not just Lucy and me, but our entire extended family. As I sit here, reflecting on everything that's happened, I can't help but question myself. Am I the one in the wrong here? Was I being selfish for not wanting Lucy to share her news at my wedding? Should I have been more understanding and accommodating? Part of me knows that I had every right to want my wedding day to be about me and my husband. We had spent months planning and preparing for this day, and it was meant to be a celebration of our love and commitment to each other. Lucy had plenty of other opportunities to share her news with the family. She could have organized a separate gathering or even waited until after the wedding to make her announcement. But another part of me wonders if I'm holding on to this anger and hurt for too long. After all, Lucy is my sister, and she's going to be a mother. Shouldn't I be happy for her, regardless of when or how she chose to share the news? The more I think about it, the more I realize that this isn't just about the wedding announcement. It's about years of feeling overshadowed and overlooked. It's about always being the one to step aside and let Lucy have the spotlight. It's about wanting, just once, to have a day that was entirely about me without having to share it with anyone else. I know that healing this rift in our family won't be easy. It will take time, patience, and a lot of open and honest communication. But I also know that I'm not ready to forgive Lucy just yet. Her actions on my wedding day hurt me deeply, and I need time to process those feelings before I can even think about moving forward. As I look at my wedding photos, I can't help but feel a pang of sadness. What should have been the happiest day of my life is now tainted by this incident. Instead of remembering the joy of saying, "I do," to the love of my life, I'm left with memories of hurt and betrayal. I've tried talking to my husband about all of this, and he's been incredibly supportive. He understands how hurt I am and has stood by my side through all of this family drama. His unwavering support has been a bright spot in this otherwise difficult time. Moving forward, I know I have some difficult decisions to make. Do I try to mend things with Lucy, or do I maintain my distance? How do I navigate family gatherings and holidays with this tension hanging over us? And most importantly, how do I start to heal from this and not let it overshadow the beautiful moments of my wedding day? I've considered seeking therapy to help me work through these complex emotions. Maybe an unbiased third party can help me gain some perspective on the situation and find a way to move forward. For now, I'm taking it one day at a time. I'm focusing on my new life with my husband and trying to remember all the beautiful moments from our wedding day that weren't tainted by Lucy's announcement. I'm allowing myself to feel hurt and angry, but I'm also trying to find ways to let go of that negativity. In the end, I know that family is important, but so are boundaries and respect. I hope that someday, Lucy will understand why her actions hurt me so deeply. And I hope that our family can find a way to heal from this and come back together. As I close this chapter of my life and look forward to the future, I can't help but wonder, was I wrong for refusing to let my sister announce her pregnancy at my wedding? Was my reaction justified, or am I the one who needs to apologize? These questions continue to haunt me, and I'm not sure I'll ever have a clear answer. But I do know that I need to find a way to move forward, for my own sake and for the sake of my new family.